So you're at the crossroads trying to pick your next lens. Now, on one hand, you've got the Canon RF 70-200-4, which is compact, light, and tack sharp. Now, on the other hand, you have the 2.8 version, which is a beast with low light and has that gorgeous creamy background blur, but it comes with a much bigger price tag and a lot more heft. You want to know which Canon's top-tier telephoto zoom lens is the best one and the right call for you? Well, in this video, we're going to settle that debate. Well, let's be real. The 70-200 range is a workhorse for any photographer, and it's your go-to for portraits, events, sports, and even wildlife. Now, Canon gave us two fantastic L-series options for the RF mount, but they also created a classic dilemma here. You have the RF 70-200-4, which is an engineering marvel that's so portable it redefines what a 70-200 can be. And then there's this RF 70-200-2.8, which is built for pros who need every ounce of performance, especially when light starts to fade. The conflict is pretty clear here. Do you save $1,000 and a ton of space in your camera bag with the f4, or do you make that huge investment in the 2.8 that brings that extra stop of light and its pro-level features? This isn't just about comparing spec sheets here. It's about your budget and how you shoot and what you really need from your gear. Okay, let's get the most obvious difference out of the way, and that's the weight and the size. Now, this is where the f4 makes a really strong case for itself. Canon designed this to be the shortest and lightest 70-200 f4 lens ever made. Weighs in just at 695 grams, or about a pound and a half. And when it's retracted, it's barely bigger than the standard RF 24-105-4, which makes it an absolute dream for travel, hiking, or anytime you're carrying your kit around all day. You can easily stand it up in most camera bags, which is something you usually can't do with a big telephoto zoom. Then you pick up the f2, and at 1,070 grams, it's almost a pound heavier, and while it's impressively compact for an f2, you definitely feel the difference. It's a bigger, bulkier lens, but that extra size comes with a key difference, and the f2.8 has an internal zoom. This means the lens never changes lengths when you zoom, which is a huge plus for video shooters actually using gimbals because the balance never shifts. It also adds to the robust weather-sealed build since there's fewer external moving parts. Now the f4, in contrast, has an extending barrel that is designed to zoom out when you go out to 200 and the lens telescopes outward. It's still built to Canon's L-Tough series standards with an excellent weather sealing, but some reviews mention that a tiny bit of wobble in the barrel when it's fully extended. Now, the f2 feels just like a solid tank in comparison. The f4 does have a handy zoom lock switch to keep the barrel from creeping out. That's a nice touch. In the hands, the f4 feels great on any Canon's R-series cameras. The f2.8, with its included tripod collar, feels every bit the pro tool it is. It's not just heavier, it also has a 77mm filter thread, which is the same as the f4. So there's really no winner here, it's just a clear choice. Do you want the maximum portability, or do you need the rugged fixed length built in of an internal zoom? So how do these two actually perform when you're out shooting? Well, let's start with the autofocus. This is the easy part because both lenses are absolutely fantastic. They both use the Canon's dual nano USM autofocus systems, and this tech is a total game changer. It's practically silent, which is perfect for video or quiet situations like wedding ceremonies. It's also incredibly fast and precise, locking into the subjects and instantly and tracking them relentlessly. Now, whether you're shooting a fast-moving athlete or a bird taking off, neither of these lenses are going to let you down. Focus breathing is very well controlled on both, which is another critical feature for videographers. Now, what about image stabilization? Again, both are top tier. The 4 is rated for 5 stops of optical stabilization on its own, while the f2, or 2.8 that is also rated for 5 stops. However, when you pair them with a camera that has embodied stabilization, or IBIS, like the EOS R5 or the R6, they both achieve a coordinated 7.5 stops of shake correction. So what does that actually mean? It means you can handhold these lenses at ridiculously slow shutter speeds and still get sharp photos of static subjects. Now, this is a huge help in low light, letting you keep your ISO nice and low. For all practical purposes, the stabilization on both is so good that it's not really a deciding factor. The 2.8's true low light power comes from aperture, not a huge difference in IS. This is what it all comes down to, right? You can actually see the difference in the photos. The short answer is yes, but the context is the key. Let's talk sharpness. These are both L-series lenses, so as you expect, they're both exceptionally sharp. Let's talk sharpness. These are both L-series lenses, so as you expect, they're both exceptionally sharp. In the center of the frame, both are brilliant right from their widest apertures, but the f2 shows a little superior optics in a couple of ways. When you shoot the 2.8 wide open at 2.8, it's sharper than the f4 when it's shot wide open at f4. If you stop the 2.8 down to the f4, to match a sibling, it pulls even further ahead by delivering slightly better sharpness from corner to corner. Now the f4 is sharp in the center, but its corners can be a touch softer, especially at the 200mm end. For most people, this is just purely academic. But if you're a landscape shooter who needs perfect edge-to-edge detail, or a pro who needs to crop heavily, the 2.8 has a slight but noticeable edge. Now, for the big one here, the bokeh, the background blur. This is a huge reason to spend extra money on the 2.8. That one-stop wider aperture lets you create more subject separation. Portraits shot at 200mm and at 2.8 will just melt the background into a beautiful, creamy blur that the f4 cannot match. The quality of the blur is also a bit different. Both lenses feature 9 rounded aperture blades, which create pleasing circular bokeh balls, but the larger aperture of the 2.8 naturally produces larger, softer out-of-focus highlights. That adds to the professional, the high-end look. Now, the f4 still gives you beautiful backgrounds, especially at 200mm, but the 2.8, f2.8, on the other hand, wins this one. Finally, low light. An f2 aperture gathers exactly twice as much light as the f4 aperture. Now, we call this a full stop of light, and it's the massive advantage when things get dim. This means that if you're shooting an indoor event, such as a concert or sports in a poorly lit gym, the 2.8 lens gives you 2 huge options. You can use a shutter speed that's twice as fast to freeze action, or you can cut your ISO in half for a cleaner, less noisy image. Now, while most cameras handle ISOs incredibly well, starting with the double the light fundamental advantage, you can't ignore it. Now, if you're finding this information helpful, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel, and you won't miss out on any future videos. This all brings us to the final and, for most people, the most important factor, and that's the price. The Canon RF 7200 f4 usually sells around $1,600, while the 7200 2.8, on the other hand, sells for about $2,800 or even around $3,000. Of course, that's the time of this video. And that's a difference of well over $1,000. Now, this forces you to ask the big question. Is the 2.8 actually worth the extra money? And the answer is, which lens is better? The 2.8 is optically superior and has more pro features. But the real question is about the value. Is that extra performance worth the huge extra cost for you? That's for you, that is. The f4 gives you about 90% of the performance and about 60% of the price. It makes it an incredible value, but for some photographers, that last 10% isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Well, let's break it down. Who should buy the 7200 for? Well, this lens is for the travel photographer that counts every ounce in their pack. It's also for the landscape shooter who hikes for miles to get that shot and puts portability first. It's for the hobbyist who wants that beautiful L-series quality, the telephoto compression, and the fast autofocus without the financial and physical weight of the 2.8. If you shoot mostly outdoors in good light, and your income isn't dependent on getting a shot in a dim church, the f4 is a brilliant choice. You save a ton of money, you save your back, and you still get a world-class series lens. So, who is the RF 7200 2.8 for? Well, this is for the working pro and the creative who won't compromise. It's for wedding photographers who have to isolate a couple from a messy background and keep shooting after sunset. It's also for the indoor sports photographer who needs that fast shutter speed under terrible gym lighting. It's also for the serious portrait artist whose signature style is that dreamy, buttery bokeh. It's crucial for most hybrid photographers as well. The internal zoom, suppressed focus, breathing, and that extra stop of light make this a much better tool for pro video work. If your job is depending on getting the shot at no matter what, or that background blur is essential to your art, then the 2.8 isn't a luxury. It's the cost of doing business. So which one is the winner? Well, the truth is Canon made two winners here. They didn't make one lens obsolete with the other, and they just gave us a real choice based on our priorities. The 70-200-4 is a masterpiece of a modern lens design that offers incredible performance in a package that we didn't think was quite possible for that zoom range. It makes pro-level telephoto photography more accessible and portable than ever. Now, the 70-200 2.8 is the peak of optical engineering for the hybrid shooter. It's a statement lens that offers uncompromising image quality, total dominance in low light, and a video focus feature for those who need the absolute best. My final advice is this: be honest with yourself about what you really need. Now, don't just buy the 2.8 just because it is the best. If you're a travel, landscape, or daytime shooter, buy the f4 and save yourself $1,000 and put that money towards another lens or a photo trip. You won't regret it, trust me. But if you're a working professional that shoots events, if you live in a world where low light action, or if you're serious about video, the 2.8 is the right tool for your job. Its advantages are real and they are tangible, and for those that are make it or break it moments, they will be the difference between getting that shot and missing it. Now, I want to hear from you. After all that, which lens would you pick and why? Are you a team portability with the f4 or team performance with the f2.8? Let me know down in the comments and I read every one of them. Thank you for watching. My name is Steve and I'll catch you in the next video.